Well, I'm Russ Milheim from the Direct. Thank you for speaking with me today about Arcane.
You're welcome. I'm really happy to meet you, Russ.
Same, it's great to talk to you. I'm a huge fan of Arcane. How much of the show did you know a lot about the show before boarding, the ship as it were?
I did not. So I my introduction to Arcane was when I had a meeting with Amanda Overton, who is writer, co-producer of the show, and she pitched this. She very sort of modestly pitched this. Oh, I'm doing this kind of thing, this animated thing at Riot. Played it down, and I thought, oh,
Often.
that's really cool. And you might want to read for a part. And I went along to the Riot Studios to watch the pilot episode of season one, and that was my first time seeing it. And I was like, oh, this is not just an animated thing.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a masterpiece. That was my first experience of Arcane, and an early indication of potentially what I was going to be getting myself in for. And that was pre-release, so it hadn't come out yet. That was kind of early doors because this was like four years ago or something, 4 and a bit years ago.
As I was to
4.5 years.
say, how long have you had to keep this secret?
A long time,
Yeah.
Russ. Maybe since my first session was 2020. It was the first day of lockdown.
Yeah.
Literally because they were closing everything down, and I knew I'd been cast in this project, and I was trying to convince the studio to stay open so that I could record this session. I was like, I need the money. I don't want to lose this opportunity, because what happened over the pandemic was a lot of projects that had started sort of fizzled out or diminished or died during that period, right? Became a bit of a wasteland. So I remember getting the role and being so excited, and then lockdown hit, and I was like, "Uh-oh, my plans have been thwarted."
Yeah.
And yeah, I managed to squeeze in that first session. So that's, yeah, 2020. So gone through a whole pandemic and a whole bunch of stuff,
Did you did
life
you only
stuff.
did you only read for Maddie, or were there other characters that you tried your hand at?
I only read for Maddie. I think Amanda Overton I knew from years ago. Like I had auditioned for a project that she was involved in, a short film actually, like maybe 10 years ago. Didn't get it. And then she had asked me to come and do a sort of staged reading of an amazing screenplay she wrote that ended up not being made, but it was really fun. And that's how I met her. And then sort of years passed, and I didn't realize Amanda was a gamer, and I'd sort of worked on, played some characters in video games. And so she'd heard bits of my work in games while she was writing and while she was working on this project. And so I think initially when she was writing this role, I think there was kind of, she said she could hear my voice in parts of the when she was writing it, but it wasn't really a done deal. I still had to audition for the role, but I think there was kind of little seedlings of a beginning there. And then she introduced me to Riot, and I went through the audition process to try and win the role that I hoped I would get.
I mean, you got it. So,
I did get it. Yeah, I did get it. But yeah, this was yeah, and it's been wild and amazing, and all the things. Yeah.
I want to ask about Maddie's kind of off-screen backstory. What can you say about where she came from, growing up? Like, did you put any of your own like, did you have to think of it kind of on your own to help contextualize your character?
Um, I don't think I can say too much about that, Russ.
Okay.
But what I'll say is that, you know, Maddie's for me, there were so many things about Maddie that I connected with and related to this idea of, her wide-eyed optimism, her sort of playful spirit, her wanting to step into this role for good, for greater good, having this sort of idealistic outlook. And so for me, I think that's something that I felt was very much ingrained into the character. And it was something that was a parallel to my own kind of outlook on life, I guess, or aspirationally what my outlook on life would be. And so from that point of view, I can maybe discuss a bit about the backstory later, but from that point of view, that's kind of what was the sort of inspiration for the character. I can say that.
Did you add any of your own like personal like quirks to her as a character through your performance that maybe wasn't originally on the page and that you just kind of found in the moment?
Yes, I think innately a lot of my quirks, for better or worse, were poured into this character because I'll tell you what was really jarring actually. So our sessions were recorded for the animators, and what was really fun about this character is I think maybe I don't know if I'm the only one, but I think I'm one of the only actors who they modeled the character after my own video and images and things. So I think the animators drew the character based on pictures of mine and parts of my performance and things like that. And so they kind of captured part of the essence of me anyway. But it's funny because one of the things I love about doing voiceover as opposed to maybe on camera acting is how sort of unself-conscious you can be. You can just kind of go in there in your sweatpants. You're not worried about how you're perceived or how you're coming across. I remember watching a cut of the first, like a kind of animatic cut of the first episode, Maddie's introduction, and seeing her on screen for the first time and recognizing so many of my awkward, twitchy, silly quirks in her. And I was like, oh no, she's unbearable, but she's kind of cute. But oh, and that was a trip actually. Seeing that, it was quite a weird. I can't describe it. It was almost like an existential thing where I just sort of zoomed out of my own body and saw myself in this animated soul, and I was like, this is wild. So that was pretty mad actually,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Now, episode 4,
Mm.
you do something pretty crazy.
Do I?
You get in the way of all
No, no.
the V Caitlyn shippers. You're like a target now. Have you looked into any of the fan reaction to you putting yourself
Um,
in that?
I've I've seen some things. Listen, I think I didn't realize. I knew this was going to be controversial, but I think Amanda Overton, who wrote the episode, she was like, "Oh, this is gonna cause all kinds of chaos," and I didn't, especially as like a Kate Vi lover myself, as a person, I'm rooting for them to be together, but I think I underestimated the extent to which the chaos that this would cause. I've been seeing clips from screeners where people are reacting to the opening of that recoiling in horror, really, Russ, to
Yeah.
the opening of that episode. Um, Trying to take it all lightheartedly. I've posted a couple of sort of funny, lighthearted things about it on Twitter. But yeah, um, from a personal point of view, mortifying to come in the way of that, totally. But also, you know, if you're talking about responsibility, like, is this really Maddie's responsibility? I mean, I think Kate has a lot to answer for, for her own choices and decisions too. And so I don't want to blame, I'm not going to blame Maddie. I think she's just my little sweet cinnamon roll and with her wide-eyed optimism and her affection for Kate. And
It's a dangerous spot you're in. There's a lot of yeah, fans that don't want you there.
yes.
Want
And
you in a
obviously,
different bed.
I know. And actually, it's funny because I know it was quite a jarring time jump for people with the opening of episode 4. But if you circumstantially, these are teammates and friends that have been sort of in close proximity. The stakes could be higher. There's a lot of loyalty and trust there. Intimacy, I think, is often born from these situations. Things happen. I don't know what to say about that. Stuff happens. Stuff happens.
Now, when it comes to Vi, you guys were pretty friendly in that like first episode.
Yeah.
Do you think that's pretty much over now? If you guys ever cross, you can speak hypothetically, but if you guys ever cross paths again, is that pretty much toast? The moment she realizes, she's gonna be like, "Wait a second, I hate you."
It'll depend on Vi. Where Vi's at right now,
Yeah, not a
in
great
her,
spot. Not a
yeah,
good.
in her headspace, I would want to keep my distance anyway. But yeah, I can't say, I can speak as a queer woman. I can speak to sort of the intricacies and complexities of queer relationships and how, so many of us date women and then date their friends and then their friends' friends and then we all end up being friends, and there's also some drama sprinkled in. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be all right. What do you think, Russ?
I don't know. Arcane is pretty dramatic.
It is it is dramatic.
A lot of people saw your character like in that first episode and they were like, "Oh no, is this the character that's just gonna die?" But you've lasted and you've made a place. So I think you're already beating those expectations, at least for now.
I've lasted. And listen, another thing as well, I'll say is it's been very sweet, the outpouring, especially from that opening, that first episode, the outpouring of love for this character has been amazing because I poured so much of myself into it, and
Yeah.
I thought I hoped she would be likable, but I didn't know she was going to come across so kind of cutesy, adorable. So that's been kind of hilarious for me to be like, when people are like, "We love your character," and I'm like, "Does that mean you love me? Please, am I your cinnamon roll?" Um, it's been very, very sweet.
If you had to like when it comes to Maddie's relationship with Caitlyn, what's the core of their relationship? What is that relationship? Because we haven't really seen too much of it. We've seen bits and pieces, but for you, like just getting into the character, how do they work?
I think loyalty and trust and a kindred outlook. I mean, there's Maddie being the sort of perpetual optimist and the enthusiastic and radiating the sort of warmth and even from that opening scene, Maddie's sort of just we see Vi at her low point, and Maddie comes in like this bright pop of color with the orange hair and the smile and the yeah, and we see a sort of a shift in the score and the lighting, and it's just this sort of enlightened perspective, and which is certainly a parallel to Caitlyn, to who Caitlyn is or who she was.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of commonality there, and some, not saying it's me because I don't want to get myself into trouble. Some could argue that she's a more viable partner
More
for Caitlyn.
viable?
Some could argue more viable. Some could argue that they actually make quite a good pairing.
Man, I could use that quote and everyone would just be like, wait a second. Grab their
I know,
pitchfork to
I
the
don't
right
want
of
to
their
feel,
bed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to feel the fire. This is
I'm
all
ready.
just, yeah, yeah, yeah. We're just sort of ruminating and all this stuff. But yeah,
Like I was
yeah.
mentioning,
Hypothetically.
like we've been talking about, there was a reaction to your character when she came on the scene, and after the first three episodes came out, just looking at the post, and there were so many people like, wait a second, I have all these theories, and like,
Mm,
she's in the wrong, or she's always in the right place at the right time.
I saw that.
She's doing sketchy things. People keep pointing at you being the first to do like the salute at the end of the third episode.
Sure.
Um, and a lot of people think that she might be evil, secretly working with ulterior motives.
Well, with regards to the salute and stuff, I mean, I think that speaks to Maddie's sense of duty. I have been dabbling in the all the theories and stuff, and obviously can't say too much, but I don't know. I mean, does that not speak more to the cynicism of fandom? The fact that this sort of like bubbly, optimistic ray of sunshine, peeks out from behind the clouds, and we're like, it's evil, kill it with fire.
I'm gonna watch the last three episodes, and it'll turn out that you were evil, and I'll be like,
Imagine.
good with
I am
words.
I am excited though after this to touch base with you how are you feeling about the finale as a fan of the show?
Oh,
I know
I'm
you're
really,
asking the questions, but I'm curious too.
no, I know I like it when the tables turn.
Oh,
Uh,
great, great,
I love it. I love it. So I think the four, five, and six were my three favorite episodes of the show so far. So
great. They were mine too. They were
yeah,
just,
they were
yeah,
really, really good. I was like, all
yeah,
right,
I agree.
a lot of pressure for those last three episodes, though.
Yeah,
Have you seen
yeah.
them? Have they showed you all of them yet? I mean,
I've
obviously you
s-
were involved with them, but
I've seen the finale. I went to a screening of the finale, and it is one of the best. Riot won't hype it up. I'll hype it up. It's one
yeah.
of the best episodes of TV I've seen. I think it's a masterpiece. So I'm really excited um for all of you to experience that. I haven't seen the other two. And actually I got screeners ahead of time for episodes 4 to 6 and hadn't watched them, had been very restrained and disciplined. And then it got released at midnight the other day, and I didn't watch it either because I did a live reaction to episode 4 with Amanda Overton um on a sort of YouTube channel, and we reacted to that together. Although she'd already seen it, but for me, I hadn't seen it yet. So that was I think potentially I'm going to do a live reaction again to the other episodes, but I haven't. Yeah, I haven't seen 7 or 8, and I'm very excited
Yeah.
for 9 to for the big finale and everything.
I get to see them the last three on Friday, so like a smidge earlier than the world, but
Oh, did you get screeners
I was invited by a friend to like a fan event where apparently they're screening
in
the last three.
is it in LA?
Yeah, it is in LA.
Oh, I'll be there
Oh, you're
too.
going there?
Yeah,
I'll
so
have
we
to
can
try to find you. I'll have to try to find
find
you.
me so we can chat in person. That would be really fun after this to
Yeah.
like meet you in person and chat about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the event. I also love that they've been doing these events all over the world. I love how inclusive they've been with the fans, with the fandom, and it's been they've kind of turned this whole month into one gigantic party, which I think the fans really appreciate and we really appreciate. And it's just felt like a really, after years of this in the
Yeah.
making, it's felt like a really
The fact that you guys have held on
celebratory
to these
moment that we
secrets,
can all share in.
like that you were doing this recording what like 4 years ago is nuts.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think, obviously having all of us experience the pandemic, and that was obviously such a tough time for all of us, that the weight of all of that for me is so enmeshed as well in my experience of working on Arcane because there was sort of stretches of months at a time that were really depressing and I wasn't seeing my family and it was like the promise of another, doing another session for Arcane kind of became like a blazing torch in the
Yeah.
horizon.
Can't wait
Like they can
more.
just, yeah, exactly, exactly. And that was kind of one of the few kind of constants for me, positive constants throughout that time. So I have a sort of very deep rooted in affection for the project on so many different levels, not just because of my connection originally with Amanda and how that came about, but how the stakes were high in real life while this was all going on, and of course, seeing it all come to fruition now into the masterpiece that is unfolding.
I was gonna say I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I wanted to ask anyways. Just given when it was recorded, did you ever record with any other actors, or was it all solo, like every moment?
No, it was solo, but as soon as they could, there was a lot of revisions of different episodes and scenes and things, and so we were able to play off of, whenever they could get us the tape of the other actors, they did, and we were able to play off of their um reaction. And they were very thorough because, coming from video games, a lot of the time, I'm sure you know this, a lot of the time in video games, you'll kind of just step into the booth and you'll get like one take of everything. And there's like, especially with big open world games where there's just like hundreds and hundreds of lines of dialogue. And you don't really get time to nurture the craft and be playful and workshop the scene things. But Arcane was not like that. It was very much that experience. There was a lot of care and attention put into every single frame, as you can see
Yeah.
when you watch the show.
Now, you have to speak vaguely, obviously, but I'd be remiss not to ask. When it comes to these last three episodes, what can you tease that fans can expect from Maddie's role in them?
I'm like, can't say that.
Yeah.
Oh, can't say that. Like, there's thoughts going. There's like sort of rotation of thoughts. Like, no, can't say that. I just think I'm just looking forward to the resolution of of these final few episodes. And I'm looking forward to us learning the fates of all of these characters, Maddie included. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. I'm looking forward to this final chapter.
Now,
Um,
if because they've confirmed that spin-off shows are in development.
mm.
Um, well, what is your dream Maddie spin-off series? What do you want to see in a hypothetical world? If they were like, here's your own show, go wild.
Well, do you know what? As soon as you said that there, I was reminded of so the original when I told you I met the writer, producer Amanda Overton, the script that I originally did the reading for when I did a sort of live reading of a screenplay she wrote that never got made. It was this amazingly brilliant sort of like queer Thelma and Louise story. Like I would love a spin-off like that, but with like Maddie and Maddie and Kate go Thelma
Ooh,
and Louise. Do you know what I mean?
great way to.
That
I'd
yeah.
be for. I mean, I don't know. Poor Vi is gonna be somewhere.
But you know what? Saying that I love Vi. Vi is actually one of my favorite characters in the show, and I've fallen more deeply in love with her in the second season. I loved her in the first season, but seeing her emerge on screen again in the second season, I was filled with like feelings like it was like an old friend or an old lover. You know when you feel that way about a character and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, and so I feel, yeah, I feel very attached to Vi. So I feel like Vi would have to be involved in some way in that.
I think my favorite character in the show is Jinx, which is a
Yes.
cop out answer potentially, but. And I'm
I
also
don't
so
think I
worried.
don't
I'm like, I hope she doesn't die. I mean, she's probably doomed given the fact that there's not going to be any more of her show, but
I don't think it's a cop-out answer. I mean, I think, Jinx as a character construction and, Ella's performances, Jinx is absolutely phenomenal. It's brilliant and it's genius. How her complexities and intricacies are handled is just it's just astonishing. So yeah, it's no surprise that she's one of my favorites too. What about you? So when you talk about spin-off series, like where did that question come
oh
from?
yeah.
Did you have like an idea in
Oh
your
no.
mind for something?
Well, I didn't, and I'm not too familiar with like League of Legends lore outside of the show.
Sure,
So
sure,
it all comes from, like the show, I know, but I just know that that lore is expansive, and
sure.
I know that they're developing so many things, but that like nothing's set in stone yet, so they're still in that
Yeah.
process of like, we have all these ideas, which do we want to actually pursue? So this is your moment to be like, this one, guys.
Pitch an idea.
Yeah. It's like,
That's
hey,
really
let's do this one. I like this
maybe at
one.
the maybe at the after party I'll write an idea on like a napkin and like slip it to Christian or something.
Exactly. Be like,
Thanks for hiring me. Here's
yeah.
a little one for the suggestion box.
I'll do another if you so want me to,
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly.